3v1s aren't fair, you say? They're too hard, in fact. Invasions are unfair. It's too hard. You shouldn't have to fight 3 people at once. Yeah, just no. Not to be insulting, but if you are the type of person that thinks that this is not Dark Souls, what's happening right here, I'm sorry to say that you're mistaken. Might need to find another game if you get super upset about it. But I'm not making this video to be a jerk to anybody or anything like that. What I actually wanted to demonstrate is that it's perfectly possible to beat 3 people, even if you're not, that great at the game. Because I'm not. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm relatively average, depending on what we're looking at. I guess if you look at, the entire community, I might be a bit above average. But if you look at specifically PvPers, I'm probably below average, honestly. So, a fairly average player, and I win plenty of 3v1s. So it can definitely be done. It's just you have to know what to do. And the biggest piece of advice that I can give, there's actually 2. Number 1 is be patient. And you've seen this is already a long clip. I fast forwarded it, but it's very long. And, I'm just not rushing into the middle of them. Because you have to be patient in this type of situation. If you walk into, 3 weapons swinging at you, yeah, you're going to have a problem. And number 2 is to think, but you need to play smarter than your opponents. When there's 3 people, they often are careless. And even if they're not careless, they don't make the best decisions. They don't have as cerebral an experience as an invader can have. So you just have to take advantage of that. And you have to pick your battlegrounds. You have to make the fight go the way you need it to go. So right there, I just poked my head in, didn't even swing. I'm a little nervous because Parrot King Hodrick's around. But I did enough to get this Sunbro coming for me. So I go ahead and drop down here, and notice me stay right next to the ledge, because I want him to think he can plunge me. And he did think he could plunge me, but he couldn't, because that's what I wanted him to think, because I wanted him down here isolated by himself. So I got exactly what I wanted, and now it's just me and this Sunbro, who at this point has very low health. Go ahead and get the guard break and riposte him. Now the Phantom came to help, but was far, far too late to do so. So just like that, from separating the group out a little bit like that, I've made this 3v1 a 2v1/2v2 since Parrot King Hodrick's around and the host was fighting him for a minute. So now I've got these 2. And this is a much more manageable situation. Now I'm not a huge fan of the Straight Sword and Great Sword team, but it's better than those 2 things and a 3rd person. So I've definitely improved my situation. And especially if you're starting out, if you can get to this point where you can just take one of them down, that's progress. That's progress, because that's hard to do as well. Just to even get one of them to succumb, as it were, is a bit of a talent in and of itself. And realistically, once you can kill 1 of 3, it's a lot easier to be able to kill 2 of 3 or the entire squad. The learning curve is a bit easier to deal with once you can learn to isolate and pick your battlefield and manipulate, according to what you want in order to kill 1. So here I've done that, and now all that's left is the host, and he's got no health. Now there's a blue incoming, but they don't get here in time. There came the drop after the fact. Give him a nice point down. The blue to his credit, praising the sun, just enjoying the PvP. Cool blue. Don't run across them all that often. But anyway, now this one is also very long. So I'm chasing the host here because he's by himself, from what I can tell. Start throwing some bombs, and he's just running in circles. Now this Phantom has been summoned, and there was another one already. Just didn't. They weren't here at the time. So we've got 2 over-leveled Sunbros to deal with. in addition to this host. So I go ahead and drag the machete wielder into the situation because you may recall I got actually a guard break on one of the phantoms already, but was knocked out of my riposte by the other one, and that cheesed me a little bit. So I brought the enemy over here to try to make an opening for something. Didn't work, so now I'm just going to back down, try and use the Estus bait parry. Didn't work. Lightning just coming for days with the Exile Curve Sword as well. Good on the host there for going with the jumping attack, since I had previously thrown out parries after running before. I'm going to hope that is why they did it, and it's not just luck, but it's probably luck. So now you see I've chosen this little spot right here. Got another guard break, and still could not get the riposte, even though I didn't try to switch weapons that time. Just couldn't get in there fast enough. So this is now my spot, right here, the entrance to the arrow section, because they don't seem willing to come in there, and I'm not willing to come out here and give them what they want. So this is now my chosen battleground. I have picked it. I have planned it accordingly because I thought there was a chance they wouldn't come this way, and in fact they won't. So, I may be losing, quote unquote, right now, health-wise at least. But it's all by my own design. They are following what I am wanting them to do, to an extent. And that's really the key in these sorts of situations, is to be in control. And if you're not in control, to take control. And here's the moment where it turns. You see the Sunbro's getting frustrated and waggling a lot. So I'm also going to waggle a lot. And I know he's going to start swinging for days. Get the parry, and that time his other buddy's too far away to help him. So I get the riposte, and dude had no health. So I knew one riposte should be enough, but, still. Didn't expect his health to be that low. So now it's me and this chap. The host has run. I don't think the host liked the odds. See me going for some more parries here because I want to one-shot, but instead I do this here. Now, I had watched him leading up to that, and as long as I was in his periphery, he would always swing 4 times. So what I did was I traded with him once, let the second one happen, rolled out, but stayed close on the third swing, and then on the fourth swing ran straight into his face so that I could get him. So that was, also it was planned. It was paying attention to patterns, what your opponents fight like, and then adjusting accordingly and trying to exploit whatever weakness they have. Now the host disappeared, so I'm now searching for him. These enemies do not appear to have been activated at any point, so I don't think he came this way. So I'm going to check the little hidey hole over here. Gate's not even open. So at that point I know he's actually back by the bonfire. He was just hiding. And there he is, just kind of running around. Most likely trying to resummon. With his little fat run. But now it's just he and I. There's nowhere left to run. There's no one left to help him. And so it's over. He is gonna, try to run some more. I'm not sure where he's going, but it doesn't really matter in the end. That's all I needed. GG anyway, I suppose. Now, one thing to consider as well, if you're like me and you watch a lot of YouTubers, Dark Souls YouTubers, that do invasions and stuff like that, you'll see that they, systematically kill everyone in the world most of the time. And, I tend to do that as well when I can because it's more fun that way. But never forget that you don't have to do that. As an invader, you're there for one purpose, and that's to kill the host. These other people in the world are just window dressing, essentially. It can be fun to take them out. Sometimes it can be necessary if they're guarding the host really intensely. But like in this situation, the phantoms just pieced out. Weren't even here. So I just went ahead and, host was wailing on me, went ahead and parried and riposted him, and that's it. I didn't have to do anything with these two clowns. They're just swinging around trying to hit me after the fact now because they're upset about it, but they weren't here, so I didn't have to fight them. And not that I'm recommending you ignore phantoms, but what I'm saying is you don't have to systematically kill everyone in the world in order to quote-unquote win an invasion. I mean, half of quote-unquote winning invasions is having fun, so whatever works for you, but the only thing you technically have to do to quote-unquote win is kill the host. So if you can't handle the phantoms, particularly if you're new to invading or something, evaluate the situation and see what you can do. Because sometimes the phantoms won't need to be killed. Sometimes they're not in the way. Anyway, this 3v1 made me a little bit nervous here because we've got some katanas. There was a pyro or something. But that phantom returned home. Either their connection died, or I'm not guessing they pulled the plug when they were in the middle of fighting a battle that they would be likely to win. But whatever the case, it gave me the opening I needed. Take care of this other phantom. And now it's just me and the host. Tried to go for the wake-up parry. I've been trying that a lot lately, but didn't work. Just mainly going for parries because I'm a jerk like that. Go ahead and break his guard instead and just riposte him down. But, I mean, that was more of a 2v1 since one of them disconnected. I didn't kill them, but still, that was quick and fairly simple. It doesn't have to be incredibly hard. Now this one, on the other hand, was immediately confusing. So there's a purple here who's helping the host. I just never see purples helping. And a blue, and the host. And you see there I get the parry but no riposte, which makes me very sad. But the blue ended up hitting the purple anyway and doing quite a bit of damage, so it didn't matter too much. Purple dies to the PvE. So there's one down. This has to do with, again, picking your battlefield and being in control. I dragged them into these enemies because I didn't want to fight 3 people at once, without any assistance. So I dragged them out into this mess, and it's done a number on them. So, pick your field of battle, be in control, and you're going to have an edge from that alone. So the blue's just going for the PvE at this point, and so's the host. They're pretty much ignoring me. So I'm going to go ahead and take that opportunity to kill this blue, because I don't need the enemies killed, number one, and I know the host isn't going to be helping, because the host is focused on PvE as well. So you see me there go for a roll backstab but not unlock, and therefore screw the whole thing up, which unfortunately resets back to 0. We're both at full health again, and now another blue's coming. So now we're about to be back to a 3v1 scenario. Now the host, I'm not sure where he's at now because there he was. I was going to say the PvE isn't dying anymore. That's because he's mostly backing down. Here comes that other blue. I just saw them over by the host. So I've got a few seconds to handle this chap before the others get here. Otherwise, I'm going to have a full 3v1 with no enemies to help me, unless I retreat deeper into the level. So go ahead and get the roll catch. See the reaction roll there. And just start playing with my timing a little bit. Go ahead and take out that blue. So now it's just this one, which is casting the good old gnawing spell. Not really sure why. Again, going for the roll backstab without unlocking because noob. Blue saved by the host massively. Now switching up to some darker spells here, and then just R1ing, or not R1ing, but slapping with staff. So now I'm trying to balance, being face to face with a katana and shield user, and having spells shot at me. Spells are definitely irritating as an invader. When you're fighting a group and one of them has spells, it just makes everything that much worse. Good job on the host there with delaying that poke. Since I was going for the parry, that was smart. Blue's coming in with the mace, but now they've activated some more enemies because they came a little further. And I'm just denying that 9. I don't want that anymore. I don't want the spells. They need to stop. So now I'm going to trade, throw out the parry after the trade, which usually works. Didn't work that time, but I did get a follow-up parry pretty quickly. And so there goes the blue. So I've now handled a purple and 2 blues, and the host is taken off. Just booking it. Because, I don't know. I get 4 people isn't enough. 4 people is not enough. You have to have 5. Because, of course, he's going to summon. What else would he be doing? Other than maybe jumping off the cliff next to the bonfire, where he could easily collect his souls. So, he's going to summon. But he makes the mistake of summoning a purple. Because there was a purple earlier, you know, when I first loaded into this world, there was a purple helping him. So he summons another purple thinking that they will help him. That is always a dangerous proposition. I rarely see purples assisting hosts. They're usually just invaders with a different color. Occasionally it's not the case. Sometimes they'll help out hosts, and sometimes it's wiser to help out hosts because it doesn't actually matter who you kill to get your vertebra shackle. So if there's a 3v1 situation and then you invade as a purple, would you rather be 3v2 or 4v1 if your goal is to win? So occasionally purples will help hosts, but I don't see it very often in the wild, as they say. And in this case, that is exactly the order of business here. Purple loads in, sees this lone host in me, and decides he's going to be on my side because probably realistic. Well, I mean that's possibly half of why he put his sign down anyway, was to duel. But outside of that, an invader versus a lone host, if the invader has any degree of familiarity with PvP, is probably going to win. Just because hosts are not necessarily that used to PvP is not, you know. I mean, obviously it depends, right? It depends on what host you're invading, but as a general rule, people who are PvE players don't get PvP. It's just the way it goes. So if you invade a predominantly PvE host, and you are an invader who invades regularly and is used to PvP, you're going to win one-on-one. So I'm betting that purple saw, you know, invader versus one dude, yeah, I'll help the invader. That's better chances for me. At any rate, we come in on this one, and we have the Usain Bolt of Dark Souls here, just really going for it. No idea where they were going, but I'm going to turn back because I know the host is back this way. And host is back this way with, guess what, another phantom. Shooting little pew-pews at me, which I'm willing to bet won't hurt very much, but they are going to be annoying. And look, this one also has the pew-pews. So we've got a melee host and 2 little pew-pew fighters. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. It's actually just going to be a lot of this. Just sneaking around corners and backing down until FP runs out. You know, I wish it was different, but like I said at the beginning of this video, you need to have patience. That's one of the things you need in 3v1 situations is patience. Because eventually they're going to have to come after me. One or all of them. It will happen eventually. I don't know when, but it will. And that's going to be much more advantageous to me because in a melee situation, a sorcerer is probably not going to last very long. And there you see I almost two-shot that one phantom with a freaking straight sword. Unbuffed or anything. So, you know, they don't have a lot of health or absorption, so I want them to have to be in melee mode. So there I was able to catch that one and take them out. So now it's just the host and the one pew-pew shooter backing up in tandem, which is pretty funny. One enemy came with me and then he left, decided it wasn't worth his time, I guess. I don't know. What a jerk. Got a parry there but missed the riposte. This is still going to be a fair amount of kind of dancing around, to be honest, because What the host does well here is puts a lot of pressure on me anytime I get near this Phantom. Now, if I'm not near the Phantom, the host isn't giving me too much trouble. So it's kind of lulling me into this sense of being in control when realistically that's not entirely accurate in this portion of it. So that was good on him. I don't know if it was intentional, that he was playing mind games with me, or if it was just, his natural reaction or what it was. But he would often leave me alone and just kind of circle like that. But anytime I would come near the white, he was on me. But for whatever reason, the Phantom decides to just try to trade with me when they have no health. And of course that didn't go well. That's now another key for patience, though, is that, if you're going to be invading, you need to have a certain degree of skill, right? You need to not make stupid mistakes. And of course you're going to. I certainly do. It happens to everybody. But you need to make it so that it happens as little as possible to you. One of the keys of patience in these invasions, when you're fighting multiple people, is they will make a mistake at some point. Partially because when people are in teams, they're a lot less careful. But also, the longer a fight drags out, the more weary they're going to be, the more likely they're going to be to slip up. So one of the points of the patience is just to wait for them to mess up, basically. Especially in 3v1, just wait for somebody to make a mistake. And once they do, exploit it and go from there. That's exactly, actually, what's going to happen in this fight here. So this host has 2 white Phantoms, very similar to the last one, last invasion, where the Phantoms are matching for some reason. Coordinating outfits, I guess. But they take off to the bridge. They don't want to deal with the Evangelist or surrounding enemies. Don't really blame them for that. But it's not in my best interest. So I think about trying to drag them back out, but I don't think that's going to work. They're pretty set on this area. When you're dragging people into enemies, it's pretty important to make it not seem like that's what you're doing. See, like here, I'm getting them to the end of this end of the bridge. Just kind of from natural progression of battle. And I get them all the way up here because the host just dashes in. And then the enemies trigger and they book it. Because that's the exact opposite of what they wanted. But I don't think they're going to do that again. So instead I start taunting. Start waggling a bit. This guy's waggling. I'm thinking he's getting a bit impatient. And here he comes right for me. So I give him a little R2 bait. And parry and riposte him. One shot. The other Phantom shooting little pew-pews, which is just going to irritate me for a little bit. Host had a bit of a delay, because that, at least that parry, if not a couple of the parries I've missed on the host specifically, should have connected. So there's just a little bit of a delay. And that's one thing I'm terrible at so far, is correcting for latency. I'm good when in pristine conditions, and I don't try certain things when there's really obvious terrible lag. But just your run-of-the-mill, fairly typical latency, I don't really know how to overcorrect for that yet, so still my bad, but it is what it is. So now I'm focusing primarily on the Phantom here. I want him out of the way. But the host just comes straight into my face, so I go ahead and put a beating on him. And that forces the Phantom to come up and protect his host. Now, the reason that's important is because he only has 1 Estus left. And now I've put him into incredibly dangerous territory, so he has to use that Estus. Now he's out. He's got no options left. And I know that because he won't heal again. But he now has no options. So now the host comes in swinging wildly. He wants to protect his Phantom. Phantom doesn't have much else to do other than R1, so he's got to come in. Go ahead and give him a bomb to the face, and that's it for that. So now it's just me and the host. Went from 3 to 2 to 1, just like that. I say just like that, even though it took kind of a long time. Because as far as effort was concerned, it was really just patience. Otherwise, it wasn't that different from anything else. There I got a guard break and a riposte. Didn't switch to my actual crit. Weapon didn't think I had time. Go ahead and get the chase down. Weapon art, and then slap him with the R1 to end it. Now this last one is a final reminder that whatever you need to do as an invader is what you should do. You know, you need to be quick-witted to an extent, but you need to be able to assess the situation and the surroundings and adapt accordingly. And whether through being in control or making control yours, or by playing a bit of mind games or trickery, what have you, you have to make things go your way. Because the one thing that I'll agree with people that say, oh, you know, invading's too hard and you shouldn't have to fight 3 people, whatever, the odds are definitely stacked against you. That's certainly true. So you have to make them not stacked against you. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that, but one of the most important ones is to, again, pick your battlefield, be in control of the situation, and be patient. You know, so here I'm backing down. This combination of items is not doing well for me. But see how the host is just coming right in on me and nobody else is? Blue is occasionally, but Phantom's just shooting spells. So I'm just going to let the host come at me. I'm going to parry him, I'm going to riposte him, and the invasion's over. You know, so again, you don't have to kill everybody. You can, if that's what's fun for you, but you don't have to. So, at any rate, this has been some fun and frivolity, but that's all for today.